By the end of this episode, Ted Lasso reverses the one decision the entire series was built on, and it happens because he forgot to charge an iPad. I know how that sounds. Stay with me, because the show uses that tiny mistake to answer a much bigger question. Can Ted be the father Henry needs without giving up the part of himself that makes him feel alive? When we last saw Ted, he walked away from Richmond, England, and the whole beautiful mess because he believed being a good father meant going home. Season 4 opens 2 years later, and on paper, he got exactly what he wanted. He is back in Kansas City. He is close to Henry. He works part-time at a supermarket, remembers every customer's name, helps his coworkers, and hands out kindness as naturally as change. From the outside, this looks like a happy life, but the episode keeps asking the same quiet question. Is Ted truly content? Or has he simply made himself smaller so nobody can accuse him of leaving again? At the store, Ted turns ordinary moments into little acts of care. He protects a younger coworker who has been stealing food instead of humiliating him. He helps an elderly customer. He jokes with strangers as if they are old friends. Then he runs into Joe Conrad, one of his former players, now married with a baby of his own. Joe proudly introduces Ted as one of the greatest role models of his life. It is a warm reunion, but it also lands like a mirror. Joe carried Ted's lessons forward, while Ted stepped away from the place where he once changed lives every day. Ted has poured himself into fatherhood, packing Henry's lunches, playing games with him, and trying to recover the years he missed in England. When Henry is called into the principal's office for supposedly disturbing poetry, the dangerous writing turns out to be lyrics from Public Enemy. Ted and Michelle laugh it off, but outside the office, the picture is more honest. Their co-parenting works, yet both are stretched, Henry is growing up, and something in Ted still feels unfinished. Then his old life arrives in the parking lot. Rebecca, Keeley, and Higgins have flown from London to surprise him. Ted takes them for Kansas City barbecue, where the sauce is generous, the jokes are familiar, and nobody has crossed an ocean just to catch up. Eventually, Ted asks why they are really there. Rebecca tells him AFC Richmond wants him back, but not for the men's team. Richmond is building a women's side, and she wants Ted to help create its identity from the ground up. The men's team already carries his fingerprints. The women have no shared culture yet. Rebecca is not simply looking for a tactician. She wants the man who once taught an entire club how to believe before there was proof belief would work. This time, she is asking for Ted for the right reason. Ted is moved, and he clearly wants the job, but he cannot say yes. England gave him purpose. Kansas City gives him daily access to Henry. In Ted's mind, choosing one means betraying the other. That is the real conflict of the episode. Not whether Ted wants to coach again. He does. The question is whether he believes a good father is allowed to want anything for himself. Back at the hotel, Rebecca's confidence starts to wobble. Higgins warns her that another women's club has folded under financial pressure. Building the team will take more than goodwill and a press release. Richmond already has Alice Chilton, a tough and highly driven coach within the new women's setup, but Rebecca believes the team still needs something Alice cannot manufacture on command, the culture Ted created at Richmond. Meanwhile, Ted tells Henry about the offer while driving him to a football match. Henry asks whether he is going to take it. Ted immediately says no. He promises he is staying. He tells Henry that he is stuck with him and turns the moment into a joke, because joking is what Ted does when the truth gets too close. Then the match begins, and this is where the episode genuinely changes direction. Henry is talented, but he ignores the simple pass and tries to do too much. His coach benches him. Ted sees exactly what went wrong, and every part of him wants to step in. But Henry asks him not to. For the first time, Ted is forced to confront the difference between being present and being useful. He is physically there, but he cannot coach from the sideline. And maybe love is not about controlling every decision around your child. Maybe it is also about letting them see who you really are, including the part of you that still has ambitions. Michelle quietly asks Ted whether he actually wants the Richmond job. Ted says no. Then he uses the word that has always meant the opposite of pretending, Oklahoma. The truth is, he does not know. While Ted wrestles with that, Rebecca, Keeley, and Higgins move through Kansas City, finding their own reasons to believe in Richmond's new mission. Keeley and Rebecca meet Tammy, a woman who used her divorce settlement to open a clothing store. The business nearly collapsed during the recession, but public support from another woman helped keep it alive. Tammy's story is messy, funny, and exactly what Rebecca needs to hear. Women investing in women can change what looks possible. Keeley sees the Richmond team as proof that opportunity grows when someone is brave enough to build the structure around it. Higgins finds his lesson at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. A guide named Charles introduces him to Satchel Paige and the players who were excluded from the major leagues, but became legends anyway. Higgins tries to compare that history to women being banned from football in England. Charles immediately corrects him. The scale and brutality are not equal. Higgins listens. That matters. The scene is not flattening different histories into one story. Higgins simply understands that giving excluded people room can unlock something extraordinary. Then the episode brings the question back to Ted, inside the house where his own story began. Ted helps his mother, Dottie, prepare to leave his childhood home. During the garage sale, pieces of his past are priced, boxed, and carried away. Old photographs, football memories, newspaper clippings, and one box connected to his father. Remember that box, because the episode is not finished with it. Ted asks why nobody in the family ever talks about his work. He remembers visiting his father's office and how happy those visits made him. At first, Ted thinks he loved the attention. Dottie tells him the deeper truth. He loved seeing his father doing something he loved. A boy needs to see that. Then she tells Ted to take the job. Ted gets angry. She was one of the people who told him Henry needed him at home. Now she is telling him to go back to London. How is he supposed to be the father Henry needs and the coach he was meant to be at the same time? Dottie does not give him a magical answer. She simply tells him he will figure it out. That may sound unsatisfying, but it is exactly what Ted needs to hear. He has spent the whole episode treating Kansas City and London like two doors where choosing one permanently closes the other. Dottie is asking him to imagine a third door. Rebecca, Keeley, and Higgins later tour the Kansas City Currents Stadium, built specifically for a professional women's team. Rebecca starts dreaming bigger, while Higgins suggests they should probably play one match before constructing an empire. Still, the vision has become real, and Ted still says no. He meets Rebecca at the airport and tells her Kansas City is home. He cannot take the job. Rebecca does not pressure him. She only says that sometimes home is a state of mind. Then she hugs him, leaves him with a reminder of Richmond, and boards the plane. Ted drives back through Kansas City alone, convinced he has made the responsible choice. But responsibility and fear can look almost identical from the outside. At home, Ted opens the boxes Dottie left behind. There it is again, the same box tied to his father, filled with football, coaching, family, and the memory of watching his father come alive through his work. The box closes the loop Dottie opened earlier. The lesson was never that work mattered more than family. It was that children notice when the people they love are fully alive. Suddenly, the choice no longer looks like family versus purpose. It looks like Ted has been making himself smaller because he believes sacrifice is the only proof of love. So he sends Michelle a text with a crazy idea. What if all of them moved to London? Michelle replies that a change of scenery might be nice. Then Ted asks the only question that still scares him. What would Henry say? The answer comes from Henry himself, using Michelle's phone because Ted forgot to charge his iPad. The exact thing he promised his son he would stop doing. That small mistake tells us more than Ted realizes. His distraction, his restlessness, and the part of him that is still somewhere else have been leaking into his supposedly perfect life all episode. Henry says yes. And just like that, the choice Ted thought would cost him his son becomes the thing that could give both of them something bigger. Ted did not need to become a smaller man to be a good father. Henry needed to see him become the fullest version of himself. The episode never shows Ted officially accept Rebecca's offer, but it does not need to. The decision is written across his face. Coach Lasso is going back to Richmond. This time, he is not leaving his family behind. He is bringing home with him. And if that final text landed for you, tell me this. Was Ted right to return, or should he have stayed in Kansas City?